Elephants bathing. Oh, one of those things we hear so many times, right? And we can't hear it anymore. Yeah, I heard it so often. Well, I start with a different analogy, and I have to look it up. I didn't prepare properly. I just do an unscripted talk here. So there is another wonderful analogy about how chanting the holy name is actually a yajna. So the analogy is comparing chanting with the yajna, right? So the tongue is the ladle which pours the ghee, right? And the holy name is the pure ghee. And the ladle of the tongue pours the ghee of the holy name into the sacrificial pit, which is the ear. So the holy name is poured by the tongue, the pure holy name is poured into the ear, right? And in the sacrificial pit, the ghee enters the fire and the flames burn brightly. So from when the pure ghee of the holy name enters the ear, it enters the heart, and within the heart the fire of devotion burns brightly, right? And burns up all the anarthas, all the upadhis, the false designations. Everything gets burned up by the power of the holy name. So in that way, Sri Harinam Sankirtan Yakya Ki Jai. Harinam, pure chanting, is compared to yajna. And keeping that analogy in mind, let's look into the elephant bathing analogy a little bit more deeply. We all know, yes, elephant is bathing and then it puts the dust and the dirt on the back and it's dirty again. But there are purposes for both aspects. The cleansing, obviously the hygienic aspect, washing the dirt away, the impurities, bacteria, especially in the folds of the skin, trying to cleanse it all nicely to protect from infection and parasites and so on. So there is the hygienic aspect of the washing process. And then there is a purpose for the dirt on the back, and every fair-skinned devotee knows that when we are on Harinam in summer the first time, or on a Ratha Yatra or so, or we're going out with tilak, and we're surprised by the sun, we forget our hat or sun protection or whatever, we end up with a red face and a permanent tilak mark, well, permanent for a week or so, because the tilak protects us from being sunburned. So we have that tilak-shaped white skin on our forehead, on our nose. That's the whole purpose for the elephant. It puts the dirt on the back to protect itself because it doesn't have fur from being sunburned. Right? So now let's look more deeply what that actually means and who is acting when. We are engaging in devotional service, purifying ourselves. That's the washing process, right? We all understand that. But then after the washing, we allow the false ego to put the dirt back on its back so it doesn't get burned away by the Krishna sun. That's the elephant bathing. It's the false ego protecting itself from the influence of the washing process of devotional service. We allowing it to be protected. Because we attached. Attachment is there, of course. But that's what actually happens. The false ego patterns of behavior keep the false ego strong, so devotional service cannot burn it away. Or we cannot engage properly in devotional service. Because it's true, purifying the false ego doesn't get us back to Godhead. Devotional service is. But the false ego is preventing us from engaging in devotional service. So working on both tracks is not a bad idea. Engaging in devotional service, strengthening the real ego, and accepting Vaishnava etiquette and culture to weaken the false ego. In that way, we are riding smoothly on two tracks towards the goal of going home back to Godhead and serving Krishna there. So this elephant bathing is actually quite deep. When we understand, it's the false ego protecting itself from being burned away by the Krishna sun. Right? So I hope I could transmit a little bit awareness about how we are influenced and constantly troubled by our false ego. And I just have a couple more points summarizing what's going to happen during the presentation, what topics will be, and one more little aspect of what we are faced with hearing that topic. Hare Krishna.